Thank you, Neil. Here's what's happening in the region. At least 52 people have been killed in a prison riot in Brazil, which saw rival gangs battle for 5 hours, the BBC reported. Gang members from one prison block invaded another part of Altamira jail in Paris State. Officials giving a news conference said 16 of the dead were decapitated. Other reports said part of the prison was set on fire, suffocating many. 2 prison officers who were taken hostage have since been freed. The violence began at around 7 a.m. and ended at around noon, according to the BBC. Video reported to be from the prison carried by Brazilian media showed smoke emanating from at least one prison building, while another clip appeared to show inmates walking around on the rooftops. The 2 rival gangs involved have not been named by the authorities. According to the BBC, violence in Brazilian prisons is not uncommon. The country has the world's 3rd largest prison population of some 700,000 people, and overcrowding is a widespread problem. Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago Faris Al-Ruiz said legislation to decriminalize marijuana is scheduled to be in Parliament by September. According to the Trinidad Newsday, the Attorney General said the draft legislation has nearly been completed and, following cabinet approval, will be laid in Parliament during the sittings in September. The Newsday reported that marijuana activist and former journalist Nazma Muller sent an email to the office of the president indicating she wanted to meet with President Paula May Weeks to discuss the issue of legalizing marijuana. The activist said in her email that the group had started an online petition to legalize cannabis, which has 12,000 signatures now. It was presented to the Prime Minister last year in July. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has turned his country into a terrorist sanctuary and committed the grave error of protecting guerrilla groups and drug traffickers. This is according to Colombian President Ivan Duque, who made the remarks Monday as tensions between the neighboring countries escalated once again. Reuters reported that the comments came after Maduro said on Sunday that 2 missing former Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia commanders sought by Colombian judicial authorities were welcome in Venezuela. Tensions have worsened since Duque joined the United States and most Latin American countries in recognizing President of Venezuela's opposition-controlled National Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the country's rightful leader, arguing that Maduro's 2018 re-election was illegitimate. Internationally, China has condemned the recent anti-government protests in Hong Kong as horrendous incidents that have caused serious damage to the rule of law. According to the BBC, a spokeswoman for China's top policy office on Hong Kong insisted that the territory's top priority was to restore social order. The city has seen 8 consecutive weekends of anti-government protests. There were violent clashes on Sunday as police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters. Barricades were also erected at several different locations in the city. Demonstrations began when the Hong Kong government introduced a controversial bill that would have enabled extraditions to mainland China. It sparked huge protests as critics feared the bill would undermine Hong Kong's freedom and be used to target political activists. According to the BBC, the row intensified as police were accused of using excessive force on anti-extradition bill protesters. A teenager who accused a ruling party lawmaker of rape in 2017 has been seriously injured in a road accident in India's northern Uttar Pradesh state. The BBC reported that the 19-year-old was traveling with her lawyer and 2 relatives when their car was hit by a lorry on a state highway. The 2 female relatives of the girl have died, and her lawyer is also in hospital with serious injuries. The girl's mother has alleged foul play, saying that the collision was not an accident and demanding justice. The family want police to open a murder investigation against Bharatiya Janata Party lawmaker Kuldeep Singh Sengar, who is accused of raping the teenager. Police registered a complaint naming him and 10 others in connection with Sunday's incident. Mr. Sengar has been in custody for more than a year on accusations of raping the teenager. He denies the charges. U.S. President Donald Trump has denied being a racist after remarks he made about a black Democratic congressman and the U.S. city of Baltimore. Mr. Trump has attacked Elijah Cummings, calling his majority black Baltimore district a disgusting, rat and rodent-infested mess. The BBC reported that several leading Democrats, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, criticized the president for his language. Mr. Trump deflected the criticism, accusing Mr. Cummings of racism instead. According to the BBC, Mr. Trump has previously turned accusations of racism back on those accusing him without evidence. He did not offer any examples of Mr. Cummings being a racist. As chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Mr. Cummings has instigated a series of investigations into the Trump administration, including its handling of migrants at detention centers. And that brings us to the end of regional and international headlines. Back to you, Neil.